Okay, everybody, thanks for joining. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. I'm going to try to reserve questions to the end. So if we have time, I'll try to please add them to the chat area, and I'll try to answer them if you have time at the end. If not, you can contact me through my social media pages, and I'll gladly answer any questions you have there. Another note, this session will be recorded, so if you haven't been told yet, if you don't want to be part of the actual video, then please hide your, how would you say, image or video. But until then, I'm just having a quick look at the chat. I know you guys have been chatting away quite nicely, making friends, I hope, across the country. But anyway, let's get on with the presentation. As I said, it's going to start 10 to 12 because I know a lot of you are probably looking forward to lunch, and hopefully this will, well, hopefully you won't be hungry but distracted by hunger before we start. Anyway, just a quick thing, just a bit of background about myself. I'm an artist based in Buckinghamshire. My artistic style is a fusion of Islamic artistic traditions inspired by my British upbringing. My career spans over 10 years of work, and it involves digital techniques, live performances and workshop. I've exhibited in various locations across the globe, including USA, UAE, Europe and the Far East. I've exhibited to a wide range of and diverse audience, including various world leaders and Middle Eastern royalty. During my artistic career, I received many awards, and I was the youngest person to receive the Alhambra Award in Excellence in Art, which basically recognizes the best of Muslim contribution. I often provide workshops and lessons to people from poor or disadvantaged backgrounds to give them opportunities that wouldn't normally be available to them. Provided them with a creative outlet enables them to give them a sense of empowerment and independence. Some of the highlights of my work include, for example, being commissioned by High Wycombe Council to create murals with the involvement of children from ethnic minority communities. I was also requested to run a workshop in Frankfurt in Germany to young artists. The aim of that particular workshop was to give young people from disadvantaged backgrounds a creative outlet. I've also been invited by the World Young Leaders Network to provide workshops for young pioneers and change makers from low income areas to basically connect and collaborate. The aim of that particular workshop was to basically, the lessons were focused on bridging the gap between the creative industry and the business world, which would create them into top-class leaders and become the next generation of influencers. I have been also invited to the World Economic Forum in Kuala Lumpur. During the course of the exhibition, I had to give masterclasses in self-branding and marketing to Malaysian students. I work closely with the students to hone their social media skills and self-promotion and help them to build a significant presence with their art. Now, you probably think I'm trying to show off this point, but there's a key message that I'm trying to promote here. And that particular message is people living in disadvantaged areas are less likely to have opportunities to participate in art-based learning, and even less likely to visit, arts venues. And I think this is a really important point we have to raise. And I think many of you are probably familiar with this particularly with this image, which was quite, well, we hit with a bit of backlash. As usual, the arts are attacked by the government again. I mean, it felt like the Chancellor was rebranding the art sector as something luxurious or a decadent hobby of some sort. A point that I want to raise is that the arts are not a luxurious hobby. They're often a lifeline for millions. Now, even though it's because a lot of people think that the arts has a negative effect on the actually industry, but if you think about it, the art sector has really greatly affected the economy. I mean, in 2017, it was reported that the creative industry contributed more than £100 billion to the UK economy. And these is not just, from movies and stuff. This is from the whole kind of range, from film, TV, radio, music galleries. It shows that the creative sector is vital to the UK economy. Yet we go through that, even though you look at art, it's something beautiful, something tantalizing. The creative subjects are at risk of decline. In January 2018, the BBC did a survey and said 9 out of 10 secondary schools had cut back lesson time or even staff in the creative area. They were even talk about the local authority to have further cuts, which basically is destroying opportunities for young people to participate in the arts. Some schools in urban areas are lacking arts education. This is detrimental because arts education has been proven to be beneficial. Participating in art activities can be linked to increased civic engagement and greater social tolerance. In schools, arts education can improve the school climate and empower students with a sense of ownership over their work. Now, if arts education is so critical, why is it being cut? Creative subjects are being squeezed out following the introduction of additional performance measures for schools. Since creativity doesn't conform to standardized testing, it may be one of the reasons why it often gets cut. If we don't protect arts education, we'll probably lose the next generation of creatives. There's also worry that the next generation of creatives will only come from a certain elite sections of society. I mean, this kind of worry is being compounded since the diminished presence of working class students at art university and drama schools. This could possibly due to the hard demand of high fees, which probably doesn't make studying art of financial viable education. With these rising fees, it's impossible to deny barriers that are facing the working class. Now, you're probably thinking, well, how is this all relevant to, we're talking about murals. Why have I done this massive propaganda against the government and the elite? Well, I think it sums it all by this amazing quote by Josie, who was a famous mural artist. And I think this is what gives power or the arts back to the people, because with murals, it's not hidden away in like a small gallery for a few prestige people. It's not kind of like hid away, or you have to be a certain society to attend the gallery. Murals out in the open is for everybody, so anybody can actually view it. Street art is now a recognized art form which has been credited with tackling antisocial behaviour and providing low-cost tool for urban regeneration. Street art, especially murals, can change a person's perception of a space by just a simple painting. People often care about public places which they are mostly connected to. One of the most important aspects of a mural is its connection to the community, its history and its values. This provides a community attachment to the mural, making it more likely to preserve the actual mural and also attracting tourists to look for art that reflects the local culture. This can also contribute to the kind of use of public space. Community art, especially murals, is a strong and effective tool to inject life into an abandoned public space. It can connect and engage local communities, and it basically encourage them to inject life into depressed neighbourhoods and foster social and urban renewal. Um, so I think there's a difference between tagging and actual mural artwork, as there's with murals, there's many benefits. To highlight some of the funerals, community murals can lead to increased levels of community engagement and social cohesion. It can function as a powerful catalyst for improved mental health, as we know that it's reported that art and mental health are really strongly connected. I mean, through my workshops, when I work with actually students or adults or just different participants, um, they go through a program of art-based learning. Participants can explore the relationships of the local people and 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 the areas within them. They, during the process of the mural creation, um, um, each participant builds relationships between different community members which they wouldn't normally associate themselves with. And I think as an artist, you have a social responsibility to bring people together. During the creation of the mural, participants will involve in the process of creation and developing their own ideas. This is important as participants will gain the probably important understanding of learning through risk taken and trial and error. You may they may spray something, or they may paint there's, they may make a mistake, but it's corrected something, and that's really important. That experimentation, and more important, failure, will help them to develop a mental resilience, an ability to deal with adversary and uncertainty in the real world. Um, Often creators are locked in isolation, and I'm guilty of it as well, and we're just trapped with our thoughts. However, during a mural, there's often collaboration and communication with other members. Another advantage of creating a community art-based mural, it gives opportunities for people who are artists to be involved in art, or more importantly, street art. Community murals have the opportunity to tell the community stories and create unique experiences, engage members of the public, and, like I said, improve foot traffic and often tourism. This is reported in places like Bristol and Bolton, where there's a even shortage, with there's huge amounts of street art. Due to street art, there's increasing appreciation for the arts and artists, and overall increase the attractiveness of the place. Murals offer accessible to art without barriers, and with that associated with either finance or is prestige or education, kind of like um, institutions. As I mentioned before, over the years I found that art is a really international language that has this incredible ability to bring people together. Art is designed for all levels of society, no matter if they're a king of an empire or simple rose people. People love to surround themselves with beauty. I think in the times of crisis, the arts are more, especially now during COVID, the arts are more important than ever. That's because art fosters understanding between communities and across borders at a time where it's probably needed most. Art is an expression what it's mean to be human at a time where the future of humanity seems uncertain. Through art, we can learn about different cultures, understanding and about learning different cultures can be beneficial because there is new knowledge to be gained and used for the progress of all people. And I think, it's our differences that make us stronger. Um, just to kind of like wrap up, because as I said, I really want to give some time to questions, because I see the chat area just flashing away. I just want to take this final note. Apologies if I talk a bit fast, because I should have done that as a pre-warning. But anyway, I think not just street art, but the arts in general is for everyone. It can make our community stronger and more vital if each person, every student, has a art as something crucial as part of the education. Community murals are seen to provide the local community with a sense of ownership and a respect for the walls of all buildings. it may be observed that most murals remain free of graffiti or other forms of destruction for many years after the completion of the mural. And you could even argue like people like Banksy, who when they apply the mural, it increases the value of the building. I wish my art did that, but yeah, maybe sometime in the future. But everybody who participates in the mural creation enjoys the process, and and even the participants or the passers-by welcome the valuable beautification of their visually, impoverished environment. A community mural improves the aesthetic quality within neighborhoods by reinforcing social connections and fostering improved health outcomes. As a final note, street art should be everywhere, and where you live should make a difference. Everyone should have access to art. It should be normalized for children, especially when the places where they're from lower income or antisocial behaviours or from ethnic minority neighbourhoods. They should have access to art. And I think, especially with street art, community murals, we can basically help to reduce that. Well, I mean, help them to basically gain access to it. But those are my thoughts that I wanted to kind of spread. But like I said, thank you for your time. I'm going to have a quick view at the chat to see if there's any questions, because it's been flashing off, and then we'll wrap things up. Okay, we've got a few messages. Pam's going, I think start with fit well there then. Yes, definitely. Wonderful. Definitely a lifeline for millions. Ownership of the institution. My biggest bugbear, the expected measures of progress not being forced to once. One size doesn't fit all. Yes, because like the focus here, because I think with me, although this entire presentation has been focused on street art, it's kind of interesting because I also dabble in digital art and actual watercolor movements. And like you say, once you just some people are more kind of like, their arts is kind of probably something else. If it could be culinary arts or video, I think it's about the individual finding what they believe in. Public places carrying private, personal narratives. Oh, Julie, that's a brilliant quote. Yes, the value of the arts for rather being elitist. The arts belong to all communities. Exactly, that's what murals reinforce. Really upsets me that try to limit access to the arts. Yeah, I find that. I mean, Pam has mentioned that she lives in a small town and there's no shift in attitude. It's a funny thing. I was talking to a council member. Luckily, this wasn't one based in Buckinghamshire. It was down south, and he was totally against graffiti. And I said, "What would you do if Banksy came along to your buildings, and put something on there?" And he goes, "I'll remove it." And I was like, "Banksy?" And he goes, "By the way, who is Banksy?" So, some people, they kind of like biased. They think art is just classical art. But, the movement in street art is actually slowly trending. Sorry, just lost my pace. Communication and collaboration. Arts and the tourists love it. Love the community, find a common place. Clap, clap, clap. 2 start is a great way for again influencing locals. You know what? That is so true. I find that when it comes to walls, if anybody wants to take part in street art or want to do a community mural, sometimes going through the council or local authority is a huge headache because there's so many bars and hoops and horrible kind of like rubbish that you have to go through. It actually puts you off. So if anybody wants to do a community mural, the best way I find is just contacting a business owner or building owner and go direct to the source. Those guys are more willing to actually offer their ward for a FA mural. Some of them may want an understanding of what you're doing, but you know, like you say, conversation is key. But you know, talking is basically, if you want a wall and someone owns the building, then just go talk to them. So excited! I was just noticing my list of artists for GCSE project. We added years so just GCSE. Oh boy, would it be about time to say that I didn't do GCSE art? But you know, oh, Julie, how do you tackle I'm not arty or the cost to complete the project? I think this is a. Do you know what the funny thing about murals? There's so many ways that you can go about doing them. The amount of people that come to me with this, for example, just a spray can, and they say, "Oh, that exact line, I'm not arty. I don't want to do that. I don't want to ruin anything." This is the one thing I want to sell before I go, is that people, I think, before people want to take part in a project, they have this fear element. And I mentioned this earlier in my presentation, this fear of failure, this fear of making mistakes. And people, because they're so paralyzed by fear, they don't want to do anything. But the beauty of art is that, and I think Bob Ross mentioned this, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay that things go wrong. The fact that you learn and keep moving forward is vital. And it's that learning, being adjusting to failure and going, and if what, so what? I remember I was part of a mural and the students made a huge mistake. But I just shrugged it off because no, that's part of learning. Life is about mistakes. The only real mistake is something that you don't learn from. You just, you know, take that, improve yourself and move on. So most of the time it's that fear element they have, which kind of like stops them from taking part in art. We had the Banksy here in Nottingham that got removed and sold. I'm not surprised, Rachel. How would you recommend someone who could get into street art for someone who has engaged with it before creating? Phil, I don't know where you're based, but there's some play. I think with street art is I think it's true with most art. It's just going and actually participate. There's a lot of like walls or legal walls. Like I know, like if you're based in Manchester or Leicester, there's actually permissible walls that you can go practice on, and that's the key thing: is go and actually have fun, play. Don't take it too seriously, because you know you just do baby steps. Just go out and play, and you know, enjoy yourself. We have a question from Zohab. What? Oh, sorry, I just lost my place. I think I probably got one more question and then, sorry, where did Zohab go? What role do you think art plays in overcoming prejudice between people in our communities? What prejudice are you talking about exactly? Are you talking about minority communities or just the class of art in itself, why people look down on art? But if it's, I know in things like minority kind of like, I think minorities arts kind of looked down, and because this elitist thing, and I think that's probably put into them, because most of these ethnic minorities, they've come to this UK, and the whole purpose was actually having a working kind of like mentality. But as we've seen in this COVID, no jobs are safe. You know, so well, the problem is that, and I think this is not restricted to ethnic minorities. Sometimes you have to prove yourself so people can trust it. Because there's always this image of the struggling artist, but then if you go to any other job, there's always somebody that's struggling. You have the medical world, you have doctors struggling to become professionals. You have, you know, and working in the office, they're trying to struggle. So I think all jobs are struggle, but I think we've got to get rid of the stigma that, you know, artists are all struggling. I think this is where the business side kicks in. You have to treat your, I think if there's opportunities, we have to like install the business knowledge of being a successful artist and get rid of that stigma. Now, I probably have about one more question, and then I'll probably have to shut down. Da, da, da. Would you love to share your art with items at the University of Nottingham, Northampton? Sure, why not? Michelle, like I say, stay in contact with me. I think I'll wrap up now because I think I'm almost out of time. And I know many of you want to join the other amazing presentations. I'll be back in the evening with the group discussion. But yeah, if anybody wants to drop me a line with their questions, this is my email, social media details. And it's been great having you. There's some great questions. I'm gutted I couldn't go through all of them. But thank you for your time. I hope this has been useful. I know this was a whistle top talk, but hopefully our paths will cross quite soon in the future. Anyway, thank you, everybody.